Everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of Keep Swing. I'm your host, Matt Stucko. Today, we have an inspirational figure in a lane that he pretty much created for himself. He's been able to achieve so much success in it. He goes by the name of MACHE, but real name Dan MACHE. He is the custom art sneaker god I've seen people refer to you as. You have created artwork on sneakers for everybody from Steph Curry to LeBron James to Ronda Rousey, Quavo for Migos. The list just goes on. Dan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Matt, thanks for having me, man. Like I said, we've been talking for a little over a year now, so it's good to finally sit down and have a convo and let me be real long-winded. So I appreciate it.
Hey, man, well, I'll tell you what, if there's one thing that listeners are going to learn today is that as long as you follow your passion and do what you love, great things can happen. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that Dan right now is inside of his studio. And I'm so happy that we're doing this with you inside your studio because it just shows how much you've been able to grow over the years and just that it's possible for anybody to accomplish anything that they want to do. And the sky's literally the limit.
You're not lying. I mean, success, it's something that, they always say success takes at least 10 years. And that's definitely true for me too.
Where I want to start this is that time that you were in your mom's basement when nobody wanted custom artwork on their sneakers. You weren't really making that much money. You were living off the dollar menu. It's just amazing the way that your journey has started. So just share a little bit about that experience and how you were able to stay so focused.
It was not a business model. I was doing it more for fun. I was always into art, always into sneakers. Growing up in Poughkeepsie, New York, and to the people in New York City, that's upstate. To us, it's not. We get very territorial about upstate New York. It's there's a lot more New York State than just Poughkeepsie. Anything above Westchester is usually upstate. So whatever. But like I said, I played sports. I was always into shoes. There was no YouTube on how to a shoe. There was no social media. There was no nothing. In hindsight, they were terrible because I was just painting them on, I didn't prep the shoe. I didn't do anything correctly. So when I was wearing the paint was peeling and cracking, whatever, but I was wearing them into the barbershop and, first time they're like, yo, when did Nike come out with that colorway? And I was like, I painted them and then, knew that I did that. So they started asking for colorways like a barber pole on the swoosh and, their name and with scissors. And so I was doing customs for them and I was just getting better at what I was doing. I felt comfortable enough that charging money for, I was charging like $50 to do like artwork on them because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But then I found there was on like the Nike Talk forums and the ISS forums back in the day, other guys were doing custom shoes as well. And it was almost like, it was like a little bit of not a secret society, but like a little bit of a brotherhood of people, very small number of people that would put our work up and share it, and people would give constructive criticism, or like if someone found a new way to prep leather or found this different paint that works better, we would share it. And, slowly but surely we learned how to properly paint sneakers. And back then you weren't painting Jordans, you had to paint Air Force Ones or Dunks because back then the fake Jordan game was crazy, at the flea markets. And, you see all these wild colorways that like rappers were wearing, and we all knew they were fake sneakers, but like, so it was almost, if you were a purist, it was sacrilege to have Jordans that didn't come out in stores. So I didn't touch those. I didn't want to be confused with any of that. But what I would do is I would take colorways and themes off of a Jordan and maybe put on Air Max. Like Jordan 3 is one of my favorite models. So I would take the lines of the Jordan 3 and transplant it on an Air Max 9. So that's how I was doing.
So you mentioned the SB Dunks and the Air Force Ones. Talk about starting with that type of base foundation and having been able to grow into then doing the artwork on all different types of Jordans. You have to start somewhere. And that was your start. And again, when it wasn't very popular, now you see tons of sneaker artists out there. But the fact that you've been doing it when you weren't making any money from it, when it wasn't popular, and you were literally in your mom's basement, like you said, or going to the barbershop, whatever it may have been, you being able to have that vision from back then and really stick to it is just remarkable. Did you have any idea that it was going to develop the way that it did?
No, I not at all. Not at all. I was always doing it for fun. So once I got out of school as an artist, you hear the term starving artist very frequently. I didn't know what I was going to do with myself once I got out. And my brother was working at a school for autism at the time. And he was like, well, until you really figure out what you want to do, I'll give you a job working, at the school. And it was pretty much working with the autism spectrum from like ages like 7 to like 18. It was like a private school. And, it was like almost like a college. I think it cost more to send kids there than to go to Harvard. But what happened was I started doing overnight shifts and stuff there, and that's where the crossroads of starting to paint shoes and that happened, because I was starting to paint shoes during the overnight shifts at that job, and I was just doing it for fun while the kids were sleeping. And then I left there, and then that's when I moved to Connecticut, came out here, and I was working at a nonprofit again, working with adults with developmental disabilities, stuff like that. But I was also still doing shoes on the side. So I was doing the Air Forces. I was going to like the sneaker shows and getting my name out. And I was, giving the shoes to Fat Joe. And I was going and down in New York and taking a train and taking a day off to give shoes to Pharrell, just to have them have my work, because again, you couldn't just DM. You had to physically go seek those guys out, and they had no idea who you were, no idea, whatever. And that was just building relationships with those people, like contacting and having a conversation. I think that's one of the parts that gets a little lost nowadays, is the real person interaction. I think a lot of, it's a little easier to just DM someone as opposed to having a conversation and connecting. When, a player or someone talks to me and has a real connection, it's endearing, because a lot of these athletes, they're not used to, just having a normal relationship with people, anymore. It's usually either a fan dynamic or whatever. That was something just as important as the artwork, is just having that connection with the client and friend.
You actually said so many great things that there's a few different ways that I could take this and want to take this, and we'll get to their specific points. But one of the things that stuck out that you said is that you're working your regular job, and then all the passionate stuff, the sneaker work, came after your normal job, or it came overnight, and you're putting in a ton of hours. So you were finding time to do what you love. A lot of people right now, they're in a job that maybe they don't like, or they want to try to pursue something else, and they just haven't, because they can't find the time, or because they're too tired when they get home from work at 5 o'clock or whatever the heck it is. But something that you were able to do was really just hone in on your craft and put in that extra time. And I even saw it myself too, when I had been straight out of college. I was going to the city, working 9 to 5, and then I would take the bus from New York City down to Homedale, the PNC Arts Center, and I would hop in my car, drive down to Lakewood, New Jersey, just in time for first pitch at 7 o'clock for a single-A baseball game. Then I would stay the entire game until it ended, and until the clubhouse opened, to either talk to the starting pitcher that night, to ask him questions about the game, player of the game, whatever it may have been, or just to build relationships, which you also talked about relationships too. But that is just so key to success, is really just finding the time to do what you love, knowing that what you're doing at that moment may just be temporary, and what you ultimately will be doing is something that you really, really enjoy. And that was definitely your case, because as you said, you had your regular job, you were a credit card sales processor, you did so many different things, and you were just able to create your own lane. And that's what I love about you, and is truly inspirational.
No, I appreciate it.
Now I'm long-winded.
Hey, that two long-winded guys. We're gonna blow right through this interview. This is great. I would say the turning stone of like where the growth happened was when I went to that nonprofit in Connecticut, and I met my now wife out there, and she saw the artwork I was doing and kind of the sneakers, and she saw an opportunity. She goes, you can really do something with this. I think you're wasting your time here doing that. She goes, you really should go off and pursue it. And at the time, I was, that stability, like working a job with benefits and stuff like that, it was scary to just leave that and be like, all right, we're gonna go try and do this. But I went. I went out and actually worked the one job where you said with the credit card processing. It was just like a commissions job where I was selling credit card processing. And keep in mind, like within the last like 3 or 4 years, I built a name in the sneaker community for the artwork I was doing. So like people knew who I was that were sneakerheads. So like I was cold calling or going into a sneaker store, and I was featured in a magazine that was in that store, and they recognized me and they're like, why are you doing this right now? Like what? Like, why are you trying to sell me credit card processing? Why aren't you doing shoes? I can't make a living off of it. And what happened was the owner of that store had asked me to paint a mural in the store to do the wall. And I was like, all right. So like I was still doing my job. And on the weekends, I would go and work on the mural. And fast forward, mural's done. And he ended up asking me if I wanted to help run the store because I looked like a pretty responsible adult. And I was good at, talking and whatever. And I had a retail experience. So the goal was they wanted me to, they thought maybe we'll have a new location and maybe, that could be your store and we'll go into partnerships and whatever. And during the day it was slow. So I would paint shoes and do my orders or commissions in the store while, whatever. And again, people would come in and would watch me paint shoes and thought it was, really cool, whatever. And then if like a walk-in customer came in and I took an order, then I would share the profit with the owner because, it's a walk-in for their thing. So they give them like 30% or something like that. I don't even remember what it was. But what ended up happening was when I did when the KD4 Nerf shoe came out, I did decide to transplant that colorway on a LeBron 9. Got big internet buzz. This is when Instagram happened. This is when, Twitter was around. And I remember I had shared them and they blew up and people wanted the shoes. So I took 12 orders for them. And, the demand was so crazy. I was like, I'm going to put it up on eBay. I don't have people bid. If whoever wins that auction, I'll do their pair first. That auction went for $4,000. I was still charging, maybe a couple $100, if that. Other people that do what I do had a light bulb in their head, and they're like, oh, wow, we can actually really make money doing this. So what ended up happening was people started making their own Nerf colorways on the LeBron to, kind of ride off of the coattails of the success of what I'd already done. And it kind of brought people out to try it out and see if it works. And then I started doing other popular colorways on the LeBron. And that's kind of how it started to go with the popularity in Instagram. I didn't even know Instagram was like a social media app. I thought it was just like a photo app. So like I was taking photos, I wanted the filters because back then in like 2013 it was all terrible. Like if you look at the old photos from like my original Instagram, it's totally a whole other world. But yeah, so the growth of customizing, I think people saw the opportunity that they knew they could make money on it. And then finally I had to leave the store because I was getting more work for me and not really dealing with the store. And then there was some other, stuff going on at the store, and it just was a headache that wasn't worth it. I was like, I just got to go and do my own thing. And I always remember that the owner of the store was like, if the custom shoe thing there doesn't work out, you can always come back. Like almost like you'll be back. That's what he thought. That's when I, in my head gave him the finger and was like, all right, I'm gonna show you up because again I'm competitive. I don't like losing at all. So I took the chance and we blew up. And through the social media age, that's when I started connecting with LeBron and Dwayne Wade and all these guys. And the thing was like just like how I used to do the credit card processing, I worked off of referrals because I built relationships. Same deal with sports, referrals. You do something for one person and that they refer you to more guys. Like I remember real long-winded answer. So you're welcome.
I love it. I love it. Keep on going. I mean, I'm sure everybody listening and watching this right now is getting fired up and don't go out and quit your current job, but definitely do what you love for all those listening.
You can't just jump out the window. Yeah. Don't just jump out the window. Make sure you have a little bit of a safety net or know you're going to be all right. Because, luckily, like, I'm never afraid to work. So, like, God forbid this didn't work. I would go work at McDonald's if I had to. No shame in my game. Whatever. I would do what I got to do. So, I remember just going back to referrals. I had done shoes for Justin Tuck. And I got linked with him through my man Siraj from Sneaker Room in Jersey City. A long friend of mine. And did a pair for Tuck. And what happened was then Tuck started getting my number out to mad guys like Dave Deal and a bunch of different guys. And so many Giants were coming to me. And, I was just like, I owe Tuck a dinner or something for all these referrals. And it just grew like that, like I wasn't really one to solicit people like that just because, for one, I was just very invested in trying to still get good at my job. I didn't want to just go after like people and give them crappy work. So I was still trying to get better, but, but people genuinely would refer me to other people. And that's kind of how it grew. And, then it just kind of went like this when social media happened. The world kind of discovered who I was. Then the whole LeBron thing happened. That's what really blew it up. I did his shoes. That's when the kids in Iowa knew who MACHE was, not just people in New York.
And now people across the country, people across the world know who you are. And with that LeBron example, you said that you had listed one of the pair of sneakers on eBay, went for $4,000. At that time, what is the Dan and you thinking when you think back about how at one point you were just doing this $50 a pair And now you're seeing the power of your creativity and the potential.
Yeah, it again, you never would have thought that. Even years ago, as a rational person, something's only is worth what someone's willing to pay. It's kind of hard to price your own work just because, for me, like I might look at something and be like, I wouldn't pay $10 for that. But then you get someone else that'll be like, I'll pay $1 million for that. Like just like art is so subjective. There's even custom sneaker artists. There's some artists who I look at their stuff, I'm like, I don't get it. But then people are like, well, your stuff's whack. That guy's the best. And it's like, all right, well, that's the opinion. And I feel like it took a while for me to accept that not everyone's going to like what I do. Because, I'm a people pleaser. I was a salesman. I was always someone who like wanted to connect and wanted everyone to like me and things like that. And then I realized that if I was just trying to work to get the approval of people I didn't even know, it's like, well, I'm losing myself. So then I just started to be like, all right, I'm going to do my own thing. And I just feel like if I was too safe, then I didn't take enough risk. Just like if a new Jordan model comes out every year. As soon as it comes out and you see a photo, half the people love it, half the people hate it. Then when the shoe comes around, like, oh, I kind of like it now. Like that's how it is. I mean, it's a very polarizing thing. And I feel like, with Jordan, any brand, I'm just saying Jordan is an example. They have to evolve and they have to grow. And I think if they don't, then they get stuck doing retros over and over in different colors, and that's about it. So those risks are very important because if there's no risk, there's no growth.
Somebody's opinion who definitely inspired you and helped continue to propel you to where you are at right now is even before LeBron James, and that was the music legend Pharrell. Just go a little bit into that and what that experience was like for you.
Yeah, I remember when the ice creams came out, when he did the collaboration with Reebok. There was the board flips, and there was a bunch of. Then there was the regular BB ice creams with the ice cream container. At the time, they were a $200 shoe, and I remember he had the song with Gwen Stefani, and the line was like, "I'm the blank who brought ice creams, 2 for a pair," and that was like a line. So like I had gotten a pair of board flips, and just being a fan of Pharrell and NERD and whatever to begin with, I wanted to do a portrait of him on the shoe and then have that line on the shoe. And it was just more for me. Again, this wasn't any business ploy, no nothing. I was just a fan doing some artwork and whatever. And I did it for myself. And NERD was opening up for Kanye and at the Garden. During the day, they had an in-store at the BBC store in New York. And I took the day off. And I was like, I was like, I want to give Pharrell these shoes. I was like, I'm never going to wear them. It'd be really cool to give them to him and being a fan and whatever. So I went down, I took the train down, had the shoes, waited online, and everyone was there like to meet him or get, buy a shirt and get an autograph and picture and whatever. And I stood in line all day. I'm holding up a shoe box. So people are like, what's in the box? And I'm showing everybody. At this point, by like 4 o'clock, everyone knows that I have these shoes that I'm planning on giving him. So I think around like 5 o'clock, the store is about, the in-store is going to stop because Pharrell and Chad have to go to the Garden for the show. So they're about to close up. And I threw a bunch of my business cards into the box and I gave them to the security guard. I'm like, yo, can you just give these to Pharrell for me? And he was like, you just give them to him? I'm like, please, just give them to him. They're a gift. So I don't know if you're familiar with the old BBC store in New York. It was all glass at the time. It's moved since then. But I see the shoes traveling up the building because I can see where they are. And they get there and he gets them. And then Pharrell comes downstairs and he goes to the security guard. He's like, yeah, who did the shoes? And the security guard points at me and, he waves me over. And Pharrell's just like, he goes, these are amazing. I greatly appreciate these. They're awesome. They're dope, yada, yada, yada. He was like, I like bringing them to Japan and show Nigo, who's, another designer. So like, to get the nod from Pharrell on his thing was awesome. So like probably like a month later, he posted them because he came back to the States because he went to Japan and came back and he's, said thank you and shouted out my MySpace page because that's what I had at the time. But it just went to show you that like that whole like seeking out the person and waiting in line, like I couldn't just DM Pharrell. I had to go and seek them out. And experiences like that obviously are far more worthwhile and valuable to me, because now I can have a really cool story to tell you. You know what I mean?
If that didn't happen, maybe we wouldn't even be here today. And this is hard work, creating opportunity and maximizing opportunity. You saw an opening, you went and got it. And next thing you know, Pharrell takes notice of it because of your unique artwork and things just blow up. People could say like, hey, wow, that's really cool. You did sneakers for Conor McGregor. You did artwork for Ray Allen, whatever the heck it may be. He's so lucky. No, it's not luck. This is like straight hard work. And like you said before, which I want to go to next, the the relationship building. And if people don't have trust in you, if you're not a great listener, you wouldn't be
Right.
here in this position today.
No, not at all. And the thing is, like, I try my best to be a man of my word, and I try to be as transparent as possible. Even now, like, when I take on private commissions, I'll tell them at least 6 months. Might only take me a week. I don't know. But if I know that a lot of times in these times, working with a Conor McGregor, working with a whatever, you know, they want to get something done for like a giveaway or promo or something, or for the game this week. You know, when I get NFL season comes, I'm doing cleats every single day before Sunday. So I know that once that happens, I can't be making these poor people wait, you know, or at least have an expectation to understand I might have to wait a while. But, you know, I also know that, you know, if I tell them 6 months and they're expecting 6 months and they get it in 2 weeks, it's like, oh my God, that's great. But then sometimes, you know, say projects get a little crazy and I get thrown on an order to do like 75 pairs of Pumas for the gaming league or something. I get overwhelmed and I'm like, hey, I got this big order. It might be a little later, but I got you. I didn't forget about you. I want you to know. And, you know, every once in a while it still happens. Like I'll overextend myself and, you know, but then I'll come here and not sleep and get it done because that's what you got to do. Especially, you know, they say the entrepreneur, and I hate to use that word, but, you know, it's a 24-hour job. You're always on call. You're always whatever.
You hit the nail right on the head. I mean, whether it is LeBron James or a youth basketball team or someone's Sweet 16, which was the case recently, like you give 110% towards that product, no matter what it is. And you let the customer know, like, hey, I'm going to devote myself to you when I am working on your shoe, your item. That's how you process and that's how you run your business. And I think that's one of the reasons why you have been able to keep your clients, but also grow your base as much as you have.
Definitely. And I won't name any names because I'm not that guy. But one of the NFL players that I have for this season, you know, I was speaking to his people about situations in the past, and they said that, you know, he felt like an afterthought because they were dealing with bigger athletes at the time, and they just kind of felt like second fiddle and felt like that person he wasn't getting the same amount of care and attention as their other client was. And I was like, that makes sense because, you know, you want to feel special. You want to feel whatever. So, like, that's why, like, I really pride myself in that whole quality over quantity deal. Like, a lot of cleat artists, and I'm not knocking anyone's hustle for that. Some guys want 1 million guys on their roster. And what happens is, you know, the work gets compromised a little bit. I think the quality of work goes down. I think, you know, things get, you know, maybe that edge doesn't get painted or these things. Like, I'm not going to let that slide. Like, I learned, you know, over, you know, the 18 years I've been doing this, like, those little things matter. They're very important. And you know what? Like, you not taping that part on the shoe and not prepping it correctly or, you know, doing, you know, some shortcut to get it done, they might leave you for someone else who will care. And, you know, I understand that, you know, retention is very important. Just like if you're a barber, your regular clients are what pays the bills. You have to understand that. That's your foundation. You know, growth is great, but you got to take care of your core. And I've always taken that to heart. And again, like, even talking to like little guys, like, I know a lot of times I get an email from a regular customer, regular customer. They're like, you know, I'm not blah, 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 so-and-so, but I'm just a regular. I'm like, don't come at me like that because, I mean, you're a regular person. That's fine. Like, you don't have to feel like, you know, I'm not going to talk to you because you're not so-and-so. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to treat you just as great as someone else because, I mean, for one, your money is just as good as somebody else's. But at the end of the day, you also got to know how valuable my time is. So if you're going to, you know, want to be part of that and be part of the MACHE gang and get a, you know, a commission piece from me, you're going to pay for my time. And that's just in that quality of that attention comes at a cost. And, you know, people either accept it and understand it, or some people don't, and that's totally fine. That's why, like, you know, when I do my pricing, you know, it's gone up because I've learned the value of my time. I understand, you know, that time is just as valuable for you as it would be for the celebrity or the notable person.
Dude, well said. All that pretty much takes us to 2018. So you have your client base. You've been doing this at this point in time, 17, 18 years, and you link up with Ewing Athletics and you get your own shoe. Ace Ventura design.
Yeah.
Dude, how satisfying was that for you? And just knowing that all the hard work that you put forth ended up paying off.
Yeah, well, the relationship with Ewing was really cool because, I mean, as a kid, from New York State, knowing about the Knicks and Ewing and that time. I mean, those shoes they weren't the Jordan, but they were popular around here. That was like a cult classic, the Ewing High. And when they came back out to retro, I remember the first time they retroed back again was with Packer shoes, and they did like the Knicks colorway, and it was really awesome. It was a great moment and all that. And then I ended up, connecting with the people from Ewing, and it was actually because of my boy Mike, who contacted them and was like, "Hey, my boy does the custom shoes. It'd be cool to do something." And they already knew who I was and whatever, and we ended up connecting. And this is how the shoe happened. At the time they had done some collaborations with like Fab and Tiana Taylor and Rick Ross and 2 Chainz and and a couple other rappers and things, and like just more hip hop culture, which is dope. And when they gave me the idea about doing the high, I wanted to do the high because that was the shoe that was synonymous with me from my past. And the Ace Ventura theme was a theme that I had in mind for a custom like forever ago. And what people don't know was I was originally going to do a custom Ace Ventura pair for Dwayne Wade. And I was going to do a whole thing with Li Ning. I was going to have a bunch of different colors. I did a bunch of different color special PEs for him. Some were getting made over in China, and some of them, they were making the base, and I was doing the painting on them because I've done a bunch of stuff with Dwayne over the years. And when the Wade brand grew, I've had a good relationship with those guys as well. Going back to the Ewing, I had a list of all different themes that I had never done. And the thing that's good with Ewing is Ewing and Chalkline are under the same ownership. So they actually have licensing deals with countless things. I don't know if you're familiar with the Chalkline stuff. They do stuff with WWE, Nickelodeon, like a gauntlet of different stuff. And one of the licenses, when I told them about getting the Ace Ventura, they were at the licensing show, and they ended up getting the license for Ace Ventura. So we could use all the likeness and all that stuff. So I was like, it's cool to do a custom and do the artwork, inspired by, but to actually do a licensed official collaboration is awesome. So, as someone who used to draw sneakers on pieces of paper and put them on his grandma's refrigerator as a kid, I always dreamed of having a shoe that was my own, as anyone else. I loved the Bo Jacksons. I loved, the Jordans. I loved the Griffeys, the Frank Thomas, Reeboks, all these things. And when they gave me the opportunity to have my own shoe, I was like, Ewing isn't something that right now I wear casually, but I was like, but I love the fact that they're giving me full creative freedom and they're awesome to work with. And as a nostalgic thing, and then also it's a nice little, cross section of my fans, Ace Ventura fans, and then the cult Ewing collectors, because there's a cult following for Ewing. Like there's people that just get every single Ewing that comes out. So it's pretty crazy. The release was a success. I designed the jacket and the shorts to go with it, and like the basketball tank, and everything blew out. And they went on sale in May of last year, and they were the second biggest release that Ewing ever had. And it was an awesome moment. And, what else can I say?
You were prepared for that opportunity, that's for sure, and you crushed it.
Oh, thank you. And it's wild because the original mock-up was a little different than the one that came out. Because the original one, it was based off of, Ace's floral shirt, the Hawaiian shirt. But what I had done was every panel was a different color of Hawaiian shirt. So every panel was a different color. It wasn't all Miami Dolphins colors. So they were a little crazier. And the liner was green and lime stripes to emulate his pants. And then on the back where, it says Finkel's Einhorn, where the 33 on the strap is, actually the original has number 5 for Finkel's number. And they ended up I don't know, it didn't work out or what. But, when we saw the first mock-up of the ones that were all different colors and wild, they got some things that were right and some things that weren't. But I knew that to get the changes done, it would have delayed it till like September. And I want it to be a summer shoe. I mean, you think of, Ace Ventura and you think of those colors, those are just scream spring, summer. So I still wanted to make sure it was out for the summer. So I was like, you know what? I was like, the OCD person in me had to kind of sit this one out a little bit and be like, all right, this is good. I'm happy with it. I'm going to put my name on it and whatever. So, but as a perfectionist, there's some things I would have loved to have done, but I also understand the great grand machine that all the moving parts, that stupid idea that I had to change something affects. That trickle is crazy. It's not really a trickle. It's more of a snowball, into an avalanche. So I didn't want to do that.
What I find really cool about that, in my opinion, is that you have the opportunity to create a shoe with Ewing Athletics. And then the Ace Ventura came from resonating with your childhood. And you had mentioned your grandmother, who played an instrumental role in your development, especially as an artist. It's almost like a sign from her above with how successful the shoe has been, just kind of being like, hey, Dan, you did it. You followed your dream and you did it. It's something that I'm sure that has crossed your mind, but as I'm listening to you share this story, just kind of gives me the chills just hearing it.
Oh, thanks, dude. It's weird because, as someone who, where I came from, I'm not saying I was like growing up in 8 Mile and like being in like poverty stricken. I'm not saying that, but like I grew up in a trailer park, we didn't have the most money and whatever. And like, I never dreamed I would ever have an opportunity for like this, it's crazy. So I want to grow. I want to be someone that, lends my designs and, maybe it's a consultant, or like you think of like a Jeff Staple, or you think of things like that. Like I want to do stuff like that. I want to do things that like, say Ronnie Feig is doing collaborations with every brand you can think of now, like whether it's, Coca-Cola or Tommy Hilfiger or Nike now, like all these, like I aspire to do that kind of stuff, but I never really thought that I had the capability of doing it because it was out of my comfort zone. I was always comfortable with drawing and painting. That's always what I knew. My wife would push me. She's like, we should really do, I won't say because we're still planning on it. So she'll tell me, I'm like, I'm going to try, and I'll ask people how to do stuff and, like with my circle. But if it got too hard, I'd be like, all right, I'm going to go back to painting because I know how to do that. That's easy.
You've been able to accomplish so much, and you talk about stepping outside of your comfort zone. Now you're doing something that you've never even done before, which is creating your own sneaker from beginning to end. Congratulations, first off. And second, just go a little bit into the detail with that because there's a lot of really, really cool meaning behind it. So if you can share it with some of us, that would be awesome.
Friends have always asked me, like, when are you going to do your own shoe? When are you going to do your own brand? Whatever. And it goes back to what's comfortable. I'm like, I'm not a designer. Like, I do my artwork on existing stuff. I make things better. I'm an artist. I'm not a designer. And like, I never really looked at myself as like an industrial designer, or I understand all that stuff. I was like, I know how brand heavy and how brand centric that our sneakerhead community is. If you don't know what they're wearing, then you don't want to wear it. Or like if you don't have the off-whites on, or you don't have the Travis Scotts, it ain't cool. A friend of mine named Rich Franklin, who does a lot of stuff with, I've known him for years and years, but he actually works in the studio in Philadelphia, who actually is producing the shoes. He always said, he goes, if you ever want to learn how to do a shoe, or you want to do a shoe, you just let me know. And I'm like, all right, I humor him, but I was just like, no, that's not for me. So fast forward all these years, like all these all-star weekends for for NBA, I'm usually doing something in some capacity, whether it's doing a player exclusive or like a custom for a player, or doing something with a brand that's like an in-store installation with like a Foot Locker or a Champs or, whatever. And for the first time in a lot of years, I didn't get any phone calls from anybody to do anything. I was just kind of like, what am I doing wrong? And I kind of I was watching things go on in Chicago, and I had FOMO, and I'm not going to admit it. I was like, damn, I'm like, you know what? I was like, I don't really want to rely on these brands anymore to have me be part of stuff. I was like, I'm going to do it myself. It's time to do it. So I texted Rich, and I'm like, it's time. It's time to do it. And he was like, all right, cool. Let's go. And the way I designed the shoe was I started with the sole and the tooling first. And I knew off the bat, whatever shoe I wanted to do, I wanted it to be something that was kind of like a mix of everything that I like personally, but like make it my own, make it familiar to people, but like not be like it's a rip off of something else, or like, because you see a lot of people that do these independent shoes now, and like it looks like a fake Jordan 1, or it looks like a Dunk or whatever. And that is what it is. But like, I wanted to have it be like my own identity, my own deal. So I want to do a runner. Like I said, I'm a 41-year-old man now. I'm not really wearing crazy shoes anymore. I'm all about the comfort, and it was kind of like style and comfort were the two hand-in-hand things I wanted to make sure of. I wanted it to resemble a lot of things that I did like, but make it my own. Like I said before, when I did the runner, I just started to make the shape of the shoe first. That was most important, because I don't know if you're like a Air Max head or not, but when the Air Max 1 had come out, like it had a certain shape to it. But then when they started to retro it, the shape would change a little bit because it was a different mold, or a different, it was made in a different factory, and the shape, the original shape was different. And people that are like purists didn't like the shape. They would like complain about it. So I wanted to make sure that the shape of the shoe was something that I was happy with. Like, so when you see just a silhouette, it looks cool. It doesn't look like a banana where it's like curving and whatever. So when I came up with the shoe, like I wanted to make it so it had a lot of like flowing lines. And so you see like a lot of these lines run parallel. I wanted to look somewhat simple. And then I like a lot of a lot of luxury runners, like high end things, like really high grain leathers. So I wanted to be kind of clean and wearable. This colorway is a little crazy. I understand that. But when I did the color placement, I did want to have a nice little balance of color and neutrals. So the gray and the white offsets all these different colors. The colorway is one thing, but the actual shoe itself was just something that I wanted to be something that would look really cool in all different colors and solids and materials. And it would translate really, really well. And I think that, I added some things that were kind of cool. Like the panels on the top is like a floating panel. So it's only attached by these hand stitches. So underneath, you can actually see the layers of other colors underneath. So when you wear them, it actually looks almost like wings. This one right here is the second to last final sample I've been wearing in all my photos. And then the one that's out is a little bit different. It has some 3M reflective panels, and it has my signatures embroidered on the tongue. I'm hella proud of them. Like, I hold my hand, and I'm just like, oh my God. I was like, I actually designed this. Like, this is my shoe. It's crazy. I don't even know. And the people love it, so it's great.
And I'll touch on this part a little bit more. I know you had mentioned the panels and the layers, but the sneaker and the colors were inspired from the road in Centralia, Pennsylvania, which you have said before that the artwork on that road has been done over and over and over in certain layers and stuff like that. So when you look at the sneaker, you see the fun, vibrant colors. And then when you understand the story behind it and the reason that you had picked that like gray for the asphalt color, it's really cool how you were able to do that. My personal favorite, I don't know what it is. I think it's just like kind of reflective of yourself and what we talked about before, how you are so attentive to detail, is the mint green stitching detail. I love that, man. That's just something about the mint green. It just pops.
Nice little contrast. Again, it was just a situation of balancing out the colors and the shades to make it work. I mean, I understand that pink is a very polarizing color. I mean, unless you're Cameron or like a lot of people in Harlem are very particular to pink. Pink is a lot more acceptable for men now than it was back when I started shoes. So I understand that this colorway may not be for everybody. And again, taking those risks, I understand that, and that was my choice. But yeah, the overlaying of the colors, I mean, you described it perfectly. I know I've said it before. The story really played well into the shoe, and I obviously designed the shoe before I did the colorway. But the overlying theme of all the colorways and the stories of the shoe that's going to be coming out, the other colorways coming out, it's all going to be under the umbrella of travel and landmarks within the United States. But I think we also tend to forget that there are really some really cool places around here. Given the situation that we're in with the pandemic and things, we can't travel overseas. So why not? If the COVID is under control, go hop in a car and go check out some of these places or whatever. Centralia is one of those things that it's a ghost town. It's not there anymore. So it's cool to tell the story about what was there and whatever. But these other colorways are based off of things that are still existing. So I will say that much. But it'll be cool. So when we are allowed to be traveling again, that people can go there and maybe wear that shoe in that location. And we'd love to open it up so we can actually talk to the people from the areas and get them involved. Whether it's the tourism of the town or whatever. We want to really help the economy of those places as well. One of the colorways that we're doing is going to be based on something in New Orleans, and it has nothing to do with Mardi Gras. Or Bourbon Street, but I'm already talking to my friend Derek Curry, the owner of Sneaker Politics down there, that's like a staple in New Orleans, and he wants to be involved. So it's cool to involve my friends and in an organic way, and not really forcing it to be like, hey, I want to put you on, and like he's like, I want to be down, I want to be part of this, and he's supporting me because again, like, he's a friend and someone that we've had a relationship for years now. So it's cool to be able to involve my friends, kind of like going back to people at the brands and putting on their friends. I'm going to put on my friends, and we're going to make something really cool out of it. And, a lot of the fans and supporters are going to be able to get a cool shoe. So, I mean, everyone wins, I think.
A lot of everything that you've been talking about, you've shared through social media. And it's almost like if they don't know you, you kind of like have this really warm, welcoming vibe to you where people do feel like you're their friend. So how much of a role has social media played in your growth, whether it is marketing your own shoe or just sharing your experiences over the years? If you bump into Jay-Z and take a picture at a party, which you're very, very transparent about, like your interactions with everybody, which I also love. You're not just putting stuff up being like, hey, with Jay-Z, like, we just did whatever. Like, no, you're like, yo, this is a cool moment for me. I just love the humility and the humbleness.
Because at the end of the day, it's like, it sounds so cliche, but I'm still just another dude. It just happens to be that a lot of people know what I do for a living. I mean, that's really what it is. I'm someone that I feel like, for the people that I knew growing up, or people that I knew when I was on the Nike Talk forums, I'm trying to do these experiences. I mean, selfishly for me are great, but it's also cool because I feel like they're winning too. I'm kind of like the representative for them. I know I've heard people say this is our shoe. It's not just a me shoe. This is us. This is you're a guy from our community and you got a shoe. But yeah, I mean, through documentation and stuff, I just felt like, so many cool experiences. And I wish I had actually started doing the YouTube and documentation sooner, because I mean, the social media has been awesome, and certainly people know who I am because of that. And the thing that's crazy is with the way that social media is now. I mean, there's so many people out there do what I do. There's a lot of people who don't even know who I am. They have no idea. So, I mean, there's so many people that are they may have heard of the shoe surgeon, but they don't know who I am, or they know who Serato is, or they know who, Jordan's Custom Kicks or Stadium or any of these guys, but they don't know who MACHE is. But if you ask some of those people, yeah, MACHE is the guy that probably inspired me to start doing stuff. So it's weird how I feel really, really old because a lot of the younger guys don't know who I am, because I don't do as much NBA as I used to, because it's a young man's game now. A lot of the young guys, they go on the high school recruiting sites and connect with these kids early. Serato, he connected with Zion when he was in college. So it's all right, do you, young man, go young bull, go do that. I'm someone that if someone's working with somebody, I won't step on their toes and be like, hey, I know you're with so and so, but I'll do a free custom for you. I'm not that way. And I've experienced that on my side, where people will try and get other guys that I've worked with in the past, and it's I take it personal because it's a lack of respect. So I kind of feel like it's a little bit of a wild, wild west out there, but I just stick to my morals, and I'm all right, well, I'm gonna keep doing what I can control, and that's kind of the way I've lived. But yeah, social media has been massive. Whether it's YouTube, whether it's the Facebook. I have a Facebook page, but Facebook's mostly there for my parents and people that don't really have Instagram or whatever to kind of see what I'm up to. Instagram's been great. Obviously, I'm a victim of the algorithm as much as some other people. A lot of people won't even see posts that I've done. Some people that I know, they even know I had a shoe coming out, because I rely heavy on Instagram to show myself. And with stories. I mean, I have over 500,000 followers, but maybe only 3,000, 7,000 people see my post, out of that. So it's all right, well, it is what it is, and I'm not one to gripe about that stuff, but I am, I know it's there, and I know that, it's a business, and I understand all that, and you got to kind of pay to play a little bit. And I don't know, I like to rely on my relationships and kind of go back to, my old school way of thinking. I'd rather go and see someone in person as opposed to do a Zoom call. I'm that kind of person. I'd rather seek them out and do those things. But social media is a great tool.
And that's what separates you from everybody else. I mean, you've been doing this for decades. You have the network. Your relationships are all there. You have the talent. You have the passion. It's what a lot of people don't have. And you, no doubtedly, are definitely inspiring a lot of people, whether it's somebody who's trying to become successful in what they do, or like you said before, up-and-coming sneaker artists or people who want to be just like you. So there's no doubt in my mind that people who follow you definitely can see the love that you have for what you do, as well as you inspire them to become better and create their own lane.
Thanks, man. I think the biggest thing I can tell anyone is to be patient. Rome wasn't built in a day. I think we're in that society of that microwave society and that instant gratification society where everything needs to come like this. And I become that way too. I'm not going to say I'm not immune to it. It's just understand that everything has a process. Everything happens for a reason. You meet people for a reason. You may not get that instant gratification right now, but you might have built that relationship and that friendship with someone that 5 years from now, they might be in some position that can help you. And, and you don't want to treat, relationships as opportunities to leverage. You just want to have friendships, but also, these people that you're friends with, they might think of you for a project or something MACHE might be good for that or whatever. And, that happens a lot, I have my regulars, and it's not because, I only hit them up when a shoe release comes out. I'll check in every once in a while, and then also sometimes I just totally forget. And, I usually call my own self on it. Say Jordan's coming out and I hit up my connect. I'm like, hey, I know I haven't talked to you since the last release. I'm an a-hole for that. But, hey,
honestly,
can I get these shoes? And I'll be like, I'm going to be that guy, and I'm sorry. So, and then I go back to calling myself out on being an opportunist and being like, okay,
the way that I'll wrap it up is with this question, and you kind of hinted at it before that you do have some stuff in the works, but you've done chest protectors for Buster Posey. You've made a llama head trophy for Fortnite, a Gucci bag for your wife, a goalie mask for the Golden Knights. Like, you've done so many different things on top of sneakers. And you have your own shoe that's out. What else is there in this industry that you would love to accomplish? And is there anything that you want to accomplish?
I mean, it's the art world, so anything that really takes paint or like whatever. I mean, we do custom bikes, and I know that's been done before. Custom cars, you know, like paint jobs. I'm a big fan of what Topps baseball cards were doing with all the art this year. I was a little salty. I wasn't part of that because I just didn't know about it until it happened. So hopefully, maybe 2021 that happens. I'm gonna put that in the universe. Topps, if you're watching this, I would love to do some stuff for your artist series.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that that'll definitely happen. That's going to happen for a fact.
I'm here for it.
Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm jazzed up. So, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this interview, I was just so happy that we're doing it inside of your studio, just because it's just shown the growth that you've had over your entire career, even up until this point with your own sneaker coming out. So, Dan, thank you so much for your time. For everybody who's out there listening, I hope you got inspired. And if you want to stay in touch with Dan, shoot out your Instagram handle, Twitter, Facebook, where everybody can find you, YouTube. Again, guys, he does a great job of documenting his experiences, and definitely worth a follow in all different platforms. So, Dan, take it away.
Thank you. So we got Instagram and Twitter is MACHE275. The YouTube is the MACHE Customs YouTube. Facebook is the MACHE Customs, and MACHEcustoms.com is the website. Again, that's going to be where all the shoes released, all the merchandise. That's where if you want to get a custom commission done, that's where you go to fill out the form. And yeah, I think that's about it. I think it covers bases. Oh, and I got TikTok. Yeah, that's interesting.
This guy does it all, and that's one of the reasons why he's here today. And we're so thankful for your time and the valuable information that you shared when it comes to giving advice for pursuing your passion, and also too just your journey alone. It's just truly inspiring. So he just listed everything, so definitely shoot him a follow. Check him out. Dan, we're looking forward to following your next steps.
Hey, I'm excited to see what my next step is. I have no idea.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching that episode of Keep Swing. Man, we have so many more awesome guests on the way, and I don't want you to miss any of it. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, feel free to go back and watch past episodes. And again, if you subscribe to the channel, that is the best way to find out who we are going to have on the show next. And if there's a guest that you want on the show, I will do all that I can to have him or her come on. So please leave a comment. Let me know who you want to see on Keep Swinging coming up. And also, too, feel free to leave a comment what you thought about the episode in the comment section below. Give it a like. And if you head over to Instagram, I'll be posting clips from all these interviews. Just a little daily inspiration. And there you can interact with me as well. Until then, have an awesome day and keep swinging.